In 1914, Henry Ford created the Pageant of the Ford melting pot. It was an English training. More than 50 countries, immigrants from 50 countries used to come to his company looking for something to do for a job. He knew that the main asset for his company was the manpower, and he had a lack of manpower. Also, he realized that with no communication skills, his production would decrease. He promised after 6 months of training, increase the worker wages. But the worker gotta follow some steps, rules that Henry Ford created. Let's see what is this about.
The impression had somehow got around that Henry Ford is in the automobile business, observed a close associate. It isn't true. Cars are the byproducts of his real business, which is the making of men. Ford's $5 day wasn't guaranteed. He called it an incentive wage, and it came with strings attached. Ford required his immigrant workers, who represented as many as 53 nationalities and spoke more than 100 different languages, attend the company's English language school. The school's curriculum relied heavily on mass recitation and included practical lessons based on daily life and routines. After 6 months of study, graduating workers participated in a ceremony called the Pageant of the Ford melting pot.
There's a great big pot. The graduates, all dressed in native costume, climbed a ladder up and jumped into the pot and disappeared. Then the teachers came out with big long wooden spoons and stuck them in the pot and walked back and forth with a little choreography, stirring the pot. The workers come out of the same pot one by one, wearing a suit, a straw hat, and waving a little American flag.
But Ford didn't limit his reforms to the classroom. He was determined to change how his workers lived. In the months following the $5 day announcement, neatly dressed men prowled Detroit's working-class neighborhoods, seeking out the family, friends, and landlords of Ford employees. They were inspectors from the new Ford Sociological Department, sent to probe into the most intimate corners of workers' lives.
How clean was the house? Did they have drinking problems evident? Did they send money back to the old country, not to be done? Were they legitimately married? Were they keeping boarders in the house? Bad idea. There was a laundry list of what I'd call social engineering. And that was Henry saying, these peasants have got to become Americans. So we're going to use the $5 a day to also Americanize them.
If a worker failed inspection, he was given time to amend his ways, and his additional wages were held for him. If he failed a second time, he was fired.
It's a level of invasion of privacy that is, I think, almost unthinkable in our world. But Henry Ford expected his workers to behave in certain ways, and he was going to enforce that behavior, and there were almost no laws or institutions that stood in his way of exerting that kind of control.
Part of Henry is an idealist. And part of him also thinks that he has the insight to teach other people how to live.
We used to have something called link program, language instruction for newcomers. 20 years ago, when I moved to Canada, I used to see the subject Canadian living, how to say hello, how to interact, how you have to behave in public, what to do and not what to do. I think that every trade that brings manpower, legal manpower to Canada, should have English education for his workers. Resident permanent, we had free English. The work visa they have to pay, but it's an investment of the employee. It's the right that the worker has to be able to integrate to the society. If we think big and we are proactive, implementing Henry Ford method in today's society with rules and regulations is going to save our industry. I know that because I've been there before.